Welcome. On today's FAC, we'll be walking through how to connect Google Tag Manager to your analytics account and begin event tracking your website. Before you start this process, you'll need a Google Analytics property which you'd like to track, and you'll also need a Google Tag Manager container installed immediately after the opening body tag of every page of your website. It's also helpful if you download our Google Tag Manager starter template in the description. Connect Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics. Once you have installed Tag Manager and have identified which analytics property you would like to track, you should go ahead and upload your Google Tag Manager starter template. This template will give you a head start as we've already set up key variables, triggers, and tags to be able to track outbound links, downloads, and more on your site. All you have to do in order to get this tracking running is add on your UA code from Analytics into the Universal Analytics variable and adjust the triggers to ensure your domain is listed in the spots noted in the template. With all the baseline events set up using the starter template, let's talk about some custom event tracking. These types of events are great for tracking navigation interactions, homepage interactions, and much more. The good news for you, there's only 3 main components that you need to track. 1. Set the event variable. Once you've decided what you want to track, we'll use navigation interactions for this example. You simply need to inspect the element within your browser and find the div that element is contained within. Make sure to go far enough up in the hierarchy to ensure you capture everything, but not so high that you're tracking more than what you're looking for. Once you have found the appropriate level, simply copy the class or ID associated with that element. It's generally more preferable to use IDs rather than classes, as there's a less chance the ID will be reused in the site's code, but both will work. With that class or ID copied, go to the starter template and navigate to the Variables menu. Click into Child of Template and copy this JavaScript variable. With the variable copied, rename the variable by simply pasting the class or ID over Template. Then, paste this same information into the highlighted area in the script. Be sure to adjust the code depending on whether you selected a class or an ID using either EID or eClassName. Lastly, click Create Variable and you will see your new variable available to you. 2. Set the parameters for your tag. With a variable set, let's focus on the actual tag. Choose the tag you have currently, choose a tag you currently have in the container and copy the tag just as you did with the variable template. Rename the tag to help you identify what you will be tracking. I like to start my events with UA event followed by the element I'm going to be tracking. With the tag renamed, we will confirm that we are creating this tag for Google Analytics and more specifically, Universal Analytics. Now we can actually configure this tag. Begin editing the tag by again verifying that you are creating a Universal Analytics tag and that you are using the correct tracking ID. We will be tracking an event, which means we need to define every event category, action, and label. When you are selecting a standard for creating your event category naming convention, be sure to stick with it. I like to use all lowercase and hyphens instead of spaces. For our tracking navigation, let's go with main nav. Now, we can create multiple tags for each button in the navigation, but I really want to track the whole navigation with one tag, so I'll leverage Google Tag Manager's dynamic tracking features. To do this, simply begin the event action with the 2 brackets and a list of variables will appear. For my navigation, I want to know what people clicked on and what page they were on when they clicked. So I'll make my event action page URL, which shows us what page the user was on when the event occurred. And for my event label, I will select click text, which will show the text that the user clicked on. If your event has a value, you can set that at this time as well. However, for our navigation, we will not need to assign value. There are also some more features available to you underneath the More Settings and Advanced Settings, neither of which we will need to worry about in this case. We're almost done, but before we create this tag, we need to set our trigger by clicking Continue. 3. Setting your trigger. The trigger will identify when this tag is supposed to fire and send the event information to Google Analytics to record the event. If you're copying an existing tag, as we have been, there's most likely a trigger already in place from the previous tag, which we can open and then copy. Once the trigger has been copied, we will want to rename the trigger so we know it is specific to this tag. I'm again going to use main nav. We will want this trigger only to fire when a user clicks on the navigation, so we will leave it as link. We want this trigger to fire when a user clicks on the navigation, so we will leave it at click and only links, as our navigation is simply a series of internal links. We will use the default settings which Google has provided us with, so we can leave that as is. Because our navigation is on all pages of our website, we will have the trigger enabled when we match the regex of ***, which will be all pages of our website. If you are looking to track something more specific, you would simply adjust this to pages that you are looking to track. Finally, we need to verify when our trigger will fire. To do this, we will select the variable that we created for our navigation and specify that that variable must be true for this tag to fire. Save your trigger and then create the tag. You've just set up navigation tracking in Google Tag Manager. Be sure to preview your tags using the preview tool within Google Tag Manager. Once everything is functioning how you expect it, publish your container and just watch as the data rolls in. Thanks for tagging along with me. Have a great weekend.